Michelle Obama once said, and I quote it, "If not me, then who? If not now, then when?" Hey there, curious mind, you just tuned to the Sot Banat Podcast, a gateway for amplifying the voices of the girl child. I am your host, Angeth Kurdeng, together with
Monica Iman.
Hello, Monica.
Hi, Angeth.
How are you doing today?
I'm well, thank you.
We're in the 21st century, right?
Yes, we are.
And all of a sudden, the globe is rapidly transforming from the industrialized age to the information age.
That is so true. And you know, there are so many podcasts coming up lately, but people might be wondering, why should the Sot Banat Podcast be added to that list?
Sure, we must be questioning, why should we add Sot Banat Podcast to the list?
Well, a lot of girls in South Sudan face so many challenges such
That's
as
right.
early marriage,
Yeah,
lack of access to education,
true.
and limited opportunities. And in today's episode, we'll be talking about who we are and why we are here.
So, Monica,
Yes.
as we stated earlier, Sot Banat is an opportunity for the girl child to have access to scholarships, empowerment, getting informed and educated. Why do you think it's important to know the background or biography of the Sot Banat podcast?
Well, that's because it helps with community building,
Sure,
context. It also helps with learning the themes and values.
that's right.
But it also helps making the viewers an informed listener.
That's very, very true. And I'm sure the listeners out there are really craving to know who is Monica Isaac. So, Monica, what could be your experience and motivations for being one of the hosts of the Sot Banat podcast?
Well, first of all, I would like to say I was privileged to go to school.
Wow.
Yes,
So, education is important.
very important in my family.
Okay.
Well, both my father and mother empowered us to go to school.
All right.
I came to South Sudan in 2020,
Okay.
and since then, I have viewed so many things about women in this country and how they think, how they behave. I noticed so many patterns
Wait. So, you're trying to tell me you're naturally a psychologist?
not naturally.
All
Oh, I
right.
studied for it.
Okay.
Yes, I did study for it. I noticed so much of low self-esteem in women and girls in
That's
this
right.
country.
That's right.
So I feel like if I was empowered by my parents to go to school,
Okay.
if I am still being empowered by my mother
Wow.
to be a great woman,
Wow.
then I can empower any other girl out there to be so outspoken, to speak out, and to be a high value woman.
That's perfect.
And what about you, Angeth?
Okay. I was 4 years old when my country gained her independence.
Really?
That was in 2011. I never had the privilege to study in my country due to political instabilities. Later on, coming home after a lot of years to complete my secondary level,
Mhm.
my hopes were shattered without explanation.
Oh no.
Looking at the sectors of the girl child,
Yeah.
the climate change, and everything,
Yeah.
my hopes were totally scattered. And I stood up and said, no one is a better advocate than the person experiencing the reality
That's for
themselves.
sure.
So, with passion for amplifying the voices of the girl child,
Mhm.
I just sensed that I am thrilled to dive into conversations that would inspire, educate, and entertain. My background being a climate change, girl child, and education activist
Mhm.
fuels my curiosity being the host of the Sot Banat podcast. I love exploring new ideas and perspectives.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Angeth, for sharing your story, your journey, and for motivating any other girl out there that's watching us.
Welcome.
Now, on that note, this is our very first episode, and to echo why and who we are, we have two very important guests with us. So please stay tuned after the break. Hello, welcome back to the Sot Banat Podcast. Now, before the break, I mentioned that we would be having two important guests on this podcast today. Allow me to welcome our two lovely guests, Mrs. Ayey Madut, Executive Director for the Chagai Foundation, and Mrs. Jan-Juba, who is the communication personnel for the Chagai Foundation. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
I am thrilled to have these two very important guests joining us for the first episode of Sot Banat Podcast. I usually say no one introduced themselves better than them. So Mrs. Ayey Madut, Executive Director, Chagai Foundation, you're highly welcomed.
Thank you so much, Agnet and Monica. It's truly a privilege to be part of this amazing movement, I would call it. I have spent some time, I've spent years involved in programs that support young girls. Believe it or not, I was a young girl once at your age. Because I know there's a lot of, a lot of young girls that don't believe that we were young ones.
True.
So it's a privilege to be here and to share this platform with you. And I think truly, the loose translation of Sot Banat, which is Voice of the Girl Child, I think it's an important cause and it's an important movement. So I applaud both of you for this movement, and we hope to continue engaging as we proceed. So I'm currently the Executive Director for the Chagai Foundation, and we are supporting Sot Banat. And ideally, I think if you ask me what I wanted to be when I was a young girl, there's been a lot of changes along the way. So when I was so little in primary school, I wanted to be an engineer.
Wow.
And, I liked machines, I liked physics. But of course, I think that was influenced by the fact that my father was a pilot. And he was always, I engaged with him. So that definitely inspired me. And then as I got into high school, I became fascinated by the human body. So anything that was nature, anything that was biology. So then I changed my mind, and then I wanted to be a doctor.
It was so fun.
Nice. So it's a swift change.
Swift change, definitely. So as you can see, life sometimes has its own way and its own paths. Even though I did not become a doctor or an engineer, I've had the privilege of guiding doctors. So I became a teacher, a lecturer for medical students. And within that, I think it truly humbles me that I get to be a part of a journey to make the future doctors. But also within that, I'm able to also support young girls who had dreams just like me to pursue. And I believe that anything that you put your mind to, you can easily achieve.
Yes,
so yes,
to be part of it.
You can be an engineer. You can also be a mother. There's a lot of privilege in shaping young minds. And so thank you for having me, Agnet, and I look forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much. And Mrs. Jan-Juba Arway, you're highly welcome. Share with us your story as well.
Oh, thank you. I am thrilled to be here. You guys are doing a great job. And what an honor to be part of the very first episode of the podcast. So,
First guest.
yes, first guest to be part of it. It's really awesome. Again, like you said, my name is Jan-Juba Arway, and I'm happy to be here. And I am the communication personnel at Chagai Foundation. I'm new to town, if you might have noticed. So yeah. I have a lot of experience working with nonprofit organization. My recent job, actually, we were helping young women and girls with, educations, housing, and, giving them mentorship and support. So I'm very passionate about, helping people in general, but specifically my soft spot is girls, children, and elderly people. So yeah.
So perfect.
Thank you.
And listener, with passion for creating opportunities for the girl child, the Executive Director of Chagai Foundation, Mrs. Ayey, under her leadership was able to create a lot of projects that were positively impactful to the lives of people. So, Mrs. Ayey Madut, why did you as Chagai Foundation decide to empower the Sot Banat Podcast?
Thank you, Agnet. I think it goes without saying that, and I think you put it really well, that in fact, the best advocate is the person experiencing the phenomenon themselves.
That's right.
And I think the opportunity, and I have to give you a lot of credit, Anyet, who walked into my office, an aspiring journalist,
That's right.
and the confidence that she exuded, I was truly inspired to come up with an idea that would, in fact, provide a platform where girls can engage in meaningful conversations.
That's right.
And of course, in many cases, usually when we talk about issues of girl child and gender empowerment, there's a misconception that we are trying to promote a westernized agenda of, you
So
know,
true. Feminism.
feminism. But that's not true.
Right.
We are trying to provide a platform where girls also feel that they're included.
Okay.
But not only included. Just imagine a woman that has decided she wants to be a mother, and that's what she's going to do. Wouldn't she be a better mother if educated, if empowered?
Of course, she
I
would.
believe so.
She would.
Exactly. And so I think empowerment and education go hand in hand. And personally, I think I've been very lucky because I'm born of two educated parents. My father, as I mentioned, was a pilot who passed away in 2001. God rest his soul. He was very pro-education. My mother herself, who started working at the age of 16. Both of them were liberators in the SPLM, SPLA.
Wow.
And so I've been born around education and promotion of empowerment of girls and women. Particularly my father used to inspire me because if he found an opportunity, he would say, no, my wife will do it.
Wow.
Because he knew that my mom was capable, even at a very young age.
Wow.
And so I think with that privilege, I also do recognize that there are many challenges that still exist. And so our purpose as people who would like to amplify voices of the girl child is to provide them an opportunity to be on the table, to contribute their voices. And, you know, I may say that I'll advocate for you as a girl child, but if you are not sharing your experiences, your current experiences, and how you think the activists or the people that are supporting you can help you, then we're really working on she said, you know, phenomenon, because we're really looking at scripts that we've read, but not the storytelling part of the experience itself.
That's
so,
true.
Yeah, so I think Sot Banat is a really good platform for this.
And just to add on that, I think there is one thing I've always grown around is my mom saying, you cannot empower someone that does not feel empowered themselves. You cannot speak up for someone that does not feel the need to speak up for themselves.
True.
And that is why the Sot Banat podcast is here to let them know that it's not a crime to speak up.
Yes.
We're here just to amplify your voices, but you actually have to get up and speak up.
Yes, exactly. And just to clarify on some of the misconceptions, like I mentioned, when we activate for a girl, you know, when we are being an activist for a girl child, we're not telling them to defy their families. You know, we're not telling them that you should not listen to your parents.
That's right.
I think there's a quote, I don't know whether it's the Bible.
Yeah.
You know, forgive me if I'm wrong, but there's a quote about taking your parents as your next God, isn't it?
Yes.
And see, even in the Ten
Demigod.
Commandments.
Sure,
thank
respect
you
your
very much.
mother and father, I think.
Respect your mother and father.
Yes.
So we are only here to also let you know that you can dream and you can achieve your dreams.
Yes.
That's the purpose of activism.
Dream, but do not step on others.
Yes, of course, of course.
That's right. So that was so interesting listening from your story and why really the Chagai Foundation decided to empower Sot Banat. But now the question comes in, what does one do if they come out from a family of less educated parents? Maybe let's say your mom is against education. Some of our norms and cultures go against education. They give the privilege to the boy child and leaving the girl child backwards. What would you add on such a situation?
Yes, and it's a very common thing actually that happens,
Especially in South Sudan.
especially within our context. So I think it's really important that that girl child, in fact, engages in conversation with the family members. Because even if you're immediate, we are communal type families, we're extended families, we're not nuclear. And so in many cases, if you're faced by such a challenge, you can call upon your most trusted uncle or auntie, someone that you know that your parents listen to. Sit side by side, just pitch what you think, why you think you should be supported to go to school. And you'll be surprised how much, advocacy that person would actually do on your behalf. So I think engage with your family members first. And then, of course, tune into platforms such as this podcast.
The Sot Banat
Sot
Podcast.
Banat Podcast, exactly.
That is so, so wonderful. So to Mrs. Jan-Juba Arway, what would you add on this?
What I would add, based on experience, is that a lot of parents, especially here in South Sudan, they don't see the value of the girls' education because it's not being represented. We have more boy child who are educated than girl child. So I think having those girls who are interested in advancing their education being provided opportunities, from organizations like Chagai Foundation, to be able to actually showcase that, hey, I could do more than just being a girl. I'm not just a wife. I'm not just a mother. I can actually, raise a family. I can take over. I can provide. And I can be in a leadership position.
I am so surprised because I believe you're American-based South Sudanese. Where do you get all this information from?
I'm trying to blend in with here, but I myself am a beneficiary of girl child education. Having that, I completed my master's degree in public relations, and then I have my bachelor's in criminal justice and criminology. And coming from a home where my father was actually one of the first students who attended Juba University, so being here is kind of. I don't know how it felt back in the 70s, but him from his family, the boys were sent to college and the women were not sent to college. And that was the same thing for my mom's side. So being the first generation to be able to complete higher education and be able to see the value in what education can do and opportunities that can provide for me, I highly support girls to get their education. I'm also a girl mom, so I have 2 daughters who are currently in college, and I always advise them that no matter what you do, no matter what you decide, have your education under your belt. That will help you get jobs, will help you, cultivate and be able, to nourish your future in whatever you decide to do. So conversation that I will have with my oldest daughter who want to be a stay-home mom is like, if you can help your child, your future children to do their homework, then what kind of mother would you be if you're not able to read for your child and to be able to fill out an application on behalf of your child? And if something happened to your husband, what's going to happen to you if you don't have a job, if you don't have a career, if you don't have an education? Then you will be a hopeless widow. So I have that conversation with her. She want to be more of a traditional wife, which I'm okay with that. But I told her, have those just in case of those
circumstances
beyond your control, because you cannot guarantee somebody to live forever, or nobody live forever. But if you have, like right now, she have a job, if you work, you know how to manage money, you can manage a household, you know how to do homework, you can you know how to study, you can help your children study. If you know how to drive, you can drive your children if something were to happen to your said husband. So having a mind of your own, advocating for yourself. We're not inciting rebellious. Don't be rebellion to your family.
That's right.
Listen to your family, but also advocate for yourself in terms of speak up for yourself, find help, seek avenues that can assist you in gaining or achieving your goals. So that's what I would say.
As a book hook, I love reading books so much. I love exploring new ideas. I came across a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I don't know if anyone came across it.
I read that one.
So it is selling the idea of going to school.
Yes.
It's saying it's an industrial age routine. You have to make money. That is what is important.
Yes.
So what do you say to young girls in this context? Because I believe some people who are book hook like me are looking at Robert Kayangasi, the author of Rich Dad and Poor Dad, as their role model. I once did that for a couple of months and I realized that's not it. So what would you say on that context?
I do agree. I really like reading. I think I've read it 3 times. And one of the key things, as you've seen from Jan-Juba's experience and her daughter making a decision of being a stay-at-home mom, which is great. Nurturing kids is actually a privilege. But of course, also, in terms of circumstances, you need to be prepared.
That's right.
You need to empower yourself so that you can actually empower your family. And we always say at the Chagai Foundation that, in fact, an empowered woman
Empowered nation.
But even before you get to the nation, you have family. An empowered woman empowers family, empowers society, up to the nation and the globe at large. And so I would say it's crucial that girls think about education and think about acquiring opportunities and utilizing those opportunities when they come along. So I think I would say, in fact, they should read the book if they can.
And the book is selling the idea of going to school.
Yes.
It's saying going to school is wastage of time. What is important is to acquire much assets as possible and make money.
Yes.
He's selling out the idea of girls going and people going to school.
School,
actually.
yeah.
And he added another book to Rich Dad and Poor Dad. So when you pay attention to him, he mobilizes you and influences you
Not to go to school.
to forget about education and business is
skill
important.
Yes, yes.
So what do you do to someone who is already in that shoes of, I am looking forward to become like Robert Kayangasi? They even give example of great people who were millionaires and did not go to school.
Yes.
Because I believe most of the people think we want to go to school, make money and make changes. But here they tell you without going to school, you can
Yes,
still
you can
become
still
that
make
great
it.
one.
Yeah.
So how do you fight such? Mrs. Jan-Juba, you're welcome.
Numbers of millionaires, including Mark Zuckerberg. He actually got the idea of creating Facebook from college.
Yes.
He was a college student.
Yes.
He's a college dropout. The same thing with the Apple investors. They were college dropout. They were in college until they actually got the idea. They put together a software and it was successful. And they were like, oh, we can make money from this. So the school actually helped them in some way, even though they didn't graduate. So yes, and it gave them the motivation that, you know what, being in the book is not for me. It's not for everybody. College is not for everybody. And that's why there's trades. That's why there's, certificates that you could do. But having the knowledge to be able to succeed and do what you love to do, and then make money from that, it's all that you need.
Yes.
But if you don't have the knowledge for it, then you wouldn't know how to manage the business. If you don't take courses on how to manage business, you will go bankrupt within a year. If you don't know how to run a farm, you won't even last a season.
That's right.
If you don't know how to drive a car, you will have accidents all the time. So it's just like that. So yeah, it's important to at least try it out. If it's something that you don't want, you're not passionate about, that's fine. But always have something, plan B. Always have plan B. It's okay to have plan A. If it succeeds, it's fine, but always have something in the back of your pocket. I always encourage girls, including my daughters, be able to financially support yourself. And if you become a mother, be able to financially support your children. And I'm getting old. Be able to support me too. But if you're not able to support yourself, you're not going to be able to care for me. So who's going to care for who?
But I'd also like to reiterate that learning does not only limit you to classroom.
Yes.
Because you may want to learn a skill set, but do you have what it takes to actually get to what you're going to? For example, I took a short course on event planning and management. Decorations is a passion, but then you have to learn. I learned that you really have to learn how to maneuver through that industry, because if you do not learn to do it, you're not going to perfect yourself. So
Practice.
Mark Zuckerberg and all the likes, they probably dropped out of school, yes, but they had a little bit of knowledge on what they were heading to, and that helps them. So I believe that girls have to, it's not limited to class.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but we're not going to be like, okay,
Go and
Monday
attend.
to
Yes.
go to school.
but if you have a passion for something, let's say tailoring, please get yourself the skill set, get yourself someone to empower you, get yourself someone to mentor you. It's important to have a mentor in this thing we call life, so you know how to help yourself and help your family. And in return, you help your nation.
That's very,
And
very
practice,
important.
I
practice.
really appreciate what you've just said, Monica, in terms of education not just being a formal setting. Growing up, a lot of us learned how to do Malaya, the sewing,
The flower.
and even the crocheting,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
In the household.
True.
That is also a skill. There's so many women now that during the war, they actually took care of their families by selling products that they made by hand.
Wow.
That's access to education. Education is not necessarily formal. It's being able, like you said, getting a skill set that may be able to generate you income. So, and Jan-Juba put it really well, that in fact, the likes of the millionaires that are talking about school is not as important
Yeah.
as pursuing business. These are people who have access to sources of education.
Okay.
They always talk about reading a lot of books.
Sure, they do. They recommend.
Exactly. That's also gaining knowledge in a form also. So I definitely think skill set is the same as a formal education as well.
All right.
Yes.
So
And-
to all the young guys out there, if you're looking at Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, or Robert Kayangasi as your role model, they were once educated.
Yes.
They got the education and then they got out of education.
Yes.
So identify your skill and cope up with it.
Yes.
Jan-Juba, you're welcome to add some.
I just wanted to add to what you said. A lot of them actually completed their primary school and completed their high school. So they're not college graduate, but they at least complete. They can read, they can write books, they can do all sort of stuff. They also have access to resources. So whether they choose to finish college or not, there's a system that's set up that could help them
Support.
still survive, whether they have college or not. While here in our continent, we do not have that. So that is a privilege that we don't have access to. So you really have to be very passionate and also motivate yourself. You have to get up. You have to do it. No one will do it for you. If you don't want to go to school, you want to learn how to run a business, find someone who have a business and learn from that person. If you can't afford to go to school, which is this actually a story of many people that are unable to get funding for their school, then find someone who's successful, become a mentee to that person, and that person can help you get to where you need to be. But it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of grit. So you have to be someone who's willing to put in the work, make sacrifices in order to reap the fruit of your labor. Otherwise, it will not work. You can't lazy around. You can't wait for your uncle. You can't wait for anybody to come save you, because no one will save you. You have to be saving yourself.
It's true, Monica.
Yeah.
That's very true. No one's gonna save you except for you. So, Jan-Juba, what would you like to tell to the next girl out there that feels like they're out of hope? They feel like they are tied to being just a mother and a wife. Because I have seen instances where young girls at 9 are dropping out of school because they believe they should be wives and mothers, and education does not matter to them anymore. What would you have to say to them?
This, by the way, is reality.
Yes.
What I would say to them is, don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. Delay is not denial. Just because it's taking long for you to get to where you need to be, it will happen eventually. You just have to practice patience. Find something that you like to do. Find something that you like to do and practice and excel in that. And once you love what you do, it's not work. So if school is not for you, learn about how to, care for, let's say you want to be a mother, learn how to run a child care. That could be something that could bring money in. But obviously if you're 9 years old, you can't do that because, they'll be, it's still a child. But I will say surround yourself with like-minded people who are doing, like, if you have a friend who you think is doing better than you, talk to that person. What is it that they are doing, to make them feel better about whatever decision they are making? Where are they heading? Discuss. Always have that conversation. And if you are brave enough to sit down with your mom and dad, you can sit down with them and say, hey, don't waste money on this education, but I like to do maybe sewing.
Yes.
I want to learn how to sew. Take me to the market or buy me, the sewing machine, and I can learn how to sew that. And we live in the age of internet. There's accessibility to to information everywhere. So with your phone, you can go to YouTube and look up how to make a dress, and you can get a step-by-step on how to do that. If you love makeup, learn how to do makeup. If you like braiding, learn how to braid. If you like find yourself something that you love to do and then build on that.
That's right.
So that's all I would say.
So being brave is a mandate.
Yes.
Yeah.
You definitely have to be courageous.
Yeah, you have to be courageous. And also, if resources are limited, find organizations that, have programs. There's a lot of organizations, nonprofit organizations like Chagai Foundation, and there's a UN Foundation. There's also another foundation that I heard about that have a lot of, they have resources that can help you. So if you need help with funding, reach out to those and go to workshop. I mean, at 9 years old, you're probably going to need your parents' permission, but once you become an independent adult, closed mouth don't get fed. So if you're not advocating for yourself, like Anyet over here, that's the reason why we're here, because she's an inspiring journalist and she wanted, to see what other people could do, and she connected with Mrs. Ayey, and here we are. So speak up, advocate for yourself, and ask. The worst that can happen is no. That's the worst you can get is no.
Exactly.
But that's one door closed, the next one will open.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right, audience, as we continue with the Sot Banat podcast, we are going to have our last remix from our very beautiful and interesting guests. So, Mrs. Ayey Madut, what are the advices you could give to the young girls outside? Or if they one day to meet you there after 10, 20 years of like, oh, what you said really touched me and changed my life. What could be that?
Wow, that's a very big question. To be honest with you, even just sitting here, I think brings so much joy to me because I feel, the privilege of being able to be a part of an initiative that could go very far.
Wow,
and the fact that I'm seeing the way you conduct yourself, Anyet and Monica, because I've worked with Monica for a few years. Just the ability to be able to conduct yourself and, be confident, I think already is inspiration. In fact, you guys are inspiring me in turn. So I truly do appreciate that. So for the girls out there, we say at the Chagai Foundation, our slogan is little girls with dreams become women with vision. And women with vision build nations. So dream, because as you're dreaming, you're discovering what you're good at.
That's right.
So then you discover purpose. So when you dream, you're able to discover, I like cooking. In fact, I enjoy cooking.
That's true.
Then you decide, okay, I'm going to speak to mom. Even at 9 years old. Most of us started cooking at the age of 7.
Yeah.
Wow.
You see? So, dream so that you're able to identify what you're good at and what you enjoy doing. And then that becomes your reality.
That's true.
But anything is possible.
I think I can be a testimony for that.
Yes.
I started my journalism work when I was 6 years old at school.
There you go.
I used to be taken to go and give speeches in occasions. And reaching 10, 11, my age mates had to be like, oh, you're too young for that. I was like, hey, age is just a number. And I came across one of the quotes, behave 2-3 times more than your age. So I was like, I'm taking this person.
Wonderful. There you go.
So, Monica, give us a conclusion to the Sot Banat first episode of its kind.
Well, what more can I say? The ladies have said enough, and I hope that you are as inspired as we are and hoping to know more in the coming episodes. So please, our next episode drops next week, next Sunday. We hope you will be staying tuned to all our social media handles, that is at the Sot Banat Podcast, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, all social media platforms.
Of the Chagai Foundation.
Yes, the Chagai Foundation and the Sot Banat Podcast. You'll find us there. And just to conclude, Mrs. Jan-Juba, do you have any closing remarks for us?
Yes, there's no dream that's too big.
Wow.
Dream.
I'm sure I'm not going to forget this quote.
Yes.
The bigger it is, the better.
better.
Yes.
Wow.
Reach for the moon. And if you fail, you fall on the star.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See us next time, same space, same hour, with your host Anyet and
Monica Iman.